Are back, and I gotta say, I don't quite. Oh, I remember why we're at the pawnbrokery.
Right.
Because of the violin. No, the viola.
We have a viola, but we're missing our Stradivarius that we pawned for the week, and we went to check it back out. Somehow we were given a viola.
Yes. So now we gotta get it back. So let's do this. So this is a British pawnbrokery. Oh my, there are all sorts of tools and contraptions in here that I've never laid eyes on before. Ah, Susato-san, and that spark of wonder in your eyes. You can't wait to scour the shelves, can you? I get the impression you enjoy places like this? Oh yes, I don't know why, but seeing such a lot of things I don't understand is a real thrill for me. My dear fellows, let us not forget why we are here. Oh, Mr. Sholmes. We are calling on matters of business, not pleasure. And clearly Mr. Sholmes means business too, judging from the spark of fury in his eyes. Ah, Mr. Sholmes, sir, welcome back. Did you hear that brazen welcome? Well, yes, we are potential customers after all. We are disgruntled customers, Mr. Naruhodo, and it's time to inform Mr. Windibank of our ire. Come, the fight is afoot. Alright, let's talk about the violin, since that's why we're here. Naturally, you recall this was our retreat from you some days ago. Yes. This second-rate fiddle is not my faithful instrument, Mr. Windibank. The color of the wood is different, it has holes in it, it's not even the same size. A wonderful summary of our observations, Mr. Sholmes. I'm so very sorry, sir. How utterly unforgivable of me, an inexcusable mistake for a pawnbroker. There is only one way to make amends. Oh my god! I thought to take my own life? I don't think that will be necessary, do you? If I may just say one thing before I pop off. Ah, yes. It was you, sir, Mr. Sholmes, who took it upon himself to remove the item the other day, I believe. Sorry? As I recall, I entered the storeroom to fetch your violin when I heard, ah, here it is. You did? And when I turned to controvert you, you had taken the viola and left, sir. However, there can be no doubt that the blame lies firmly at my door for allowing you to leave. So I shall not grumble or grouse any longer, may this guilt die with me. No, stop, my dear fellow, the fault is mine. Man, this escalated. Phew. It would appear that the fight is over. I do humbly apologize, Mr. Windibank. Evidently, my questionable disposition precipitated this tragedy. Well, you wouldn't be Mr. Herlock Sholmes without that questionable disposition now, would you? Haha, I do believe you may be right, sir. Ah, ha, ha, ha. It's either laugh or cry, I suppose. You are, it must be said, one of my more challenging customers. I thought he was about to hold us up when I saw him getting the gun.
I thought he was gonna offer it to us, like, as collateral, like, more money.
Huh. Well, first, before I saw him grab the gun when he just ran back, I thought, like, he was running away in a huff or something, like... I don't know, whoa, that was a weird scene. It must be said, Mr. Jones. I needn't remind you of the peculiar collection of items you've brought through my door in the past. Oh, peculiar items? In the extreme, ma'am. For example, the unpublished manuscript of an eponymous work, the novels of Herlock Sholmes or some such. Oh, why, a new full-fledged novel? And unpublished? A story I have yet to read, you mean? Ah, forgive me. You must tell me more? Before you die, you must tell me more? Oh my god. I must know more, tell me everything. Wow, Susato-san is real fired up now. Is there really an unpublished story under this very roof? Well, one day the gentleman here brought in an old metal chest, you see. I should like to entrust this to your care for a while, Mr. Windibank. For a chest like that, 1 shilling, sir, not a farthing more. It houses something of very great value indeed. The latest manuscript, recounting the adventures of one Mr. Horlock Sholmes. I beg your pardon, a manuscript? You wish to deposit a manuscript? Indeed I do, for I am confident it will be safe here. And that was that. As such, Mr. Sholmes' latest tale of otherworldly mystery lies dormant in my storeroom. Mr. Sholmes, is that really true? Do I sense that someone doesn't want to talk about this? I continue to pay your fee, do I not? Then kindly continue to store my belongings securely. Of course, sir, of course. They're safe and sound with me, I assure you on my life. This is all very strange. I wonder, could I ask you something? Ah, a gentleman from the East, I see. Yes, that sable suit. I suppose I could offer you 6 pence for it. Without wishing to offend, the tone is somewhat dull. Sorry? Aha, but for your splendid attire, ma'am, 5 guineas, no less. The colors are exquisite, the design exotic. Eastern artistry at its finest, may I say. Oh my, 5 guineas, you say? How interesting. Why do I feel as though I've suffered some sort of defeat here? Actually, I was hoping to ask you about your business. I've heard it's said that pawnbrokeries are used rather like banks here in London. Yes, sir, indeed. Many of my customers utilize the establishment as you describe. I appraise their items and offer them a proportionate loan and 2 months of secure stowage. If in that time they repay the original sum to me plus the agreed interest, their items are happily returned. But what happens if they don't pay the money? Then the items are offered for sale in my shop, as you can see on the shelves behind me. So you never sell items before the 2 months has passed, then? That's right, ma'am, that's right. Which means some considerable responsibility rests on my shoulders. Should a customer's precious belongings be lost, the only recompense is for me to end it all.
Stable Mabel here.
No. The very idea, Mr. Windibank, is an absurdity. One should never talk of one's demise so casually. Says the man who was telling us all it was a good day to die only this morning. And let us not forget that I have already helped you take measures to ensure such a tragedy never occurs. Oh, what sort of measures? I engineered a simple device which Mr. Windibank has installed here in his shop. I call it the Red-Handed Recorder. Is that not so, Mr. Windibank? Ha! What was that deep sigh about? What on earth is a red-handed recorder? Use your eyes, my dear fellow. There are 2 just below the ceiling. I can see what appears to be a camera attached to some sort of timing device. Very astute. It is indeed a camera, furnished with some 100 pieces of celluloid film, and every 30 minutes precisely the camera automatically records the appearance of the shop. Here, I have an example I can show you. Yes, a print from the camera set to record the activity of the shop counter. I developed a special type of film so sensitive it produces a crystal clear image, even in darkness. Really, that's extraordinary. Yes, you can clearly see the counter and the door behind it. Look. So you see, were someone to enter the premises with ill intent, his identity would be summarily exposed. But did you not say that the photographic prints were taken at 30-minute intervals? Indeed, as you say, my dear madame. Then what if the incident were to occur in between times? One could only say that would be a cruel twist of fate. I must confess, your devices have been giving me some cause for distress of late. I beg your pardon, Mr. Windibank. Surely they are anything but distressing. Reassuring is the word. It's the cost of the film, sir. You most graciously placed not 1 but 2 cameras in my shop, after all, which means I must pay for nigh on 100 utterly useless prints every single day. I'm afraid the cost of the film will break me before I'm very much older. Nevertheless, a small price to pay to ensure the safety of my preferred pawnbrokery, no? My dear fellows, we verge on an age where safety and security come at a price. Oh, heaven help us. Now then, Mr. Sholmes, allow me to return your precious violin. Ah, the very thing. Thank you, Mr. Windibank. That doesn't look like the other one. It's amazing how Sholmes made such a elementary mistake. Perhaps this might mark the end of the peculiar items you try to pop, Because if anything were to happen to one of them, this would be the only answer. I really think you ought to stop waving that gun around. Someone could get hurt. Fear not. Sorry, I've only loaded a single bullet, so no one but myself could possibly be harmed. That's not really what I meant. Why do I have a feeling he's going to be the murder victim? Good day to you then, Mr. Windibank. It's been a pleasure as always, Mr. Sholmes. So, Mr. Naruhodo, now we can explore at last. Look at this. What could this lovely big, shiny box be? That, my dear madame, is a music box. Surely you have such things in your country? Oh my, yes, but I've surely never seen one so large before. Shall we listen a while? Ah, what a sublime sound. It's like the music of angels. I've never heard anything like it before in my life. This particular specimen is of the larger variety, commonly found in public houses and restaurants. There is a metal disc inside on which the notes to be played are recorded. Simply by replacing the disc with another, any music you care to imagine can be played. My goodness, what a simply delightful machine. Indeed, though their popularity has waned recently with the development of the gramophone, of course. Science and technology advance at such an overwhelming pace. What an assortment of things there are on these shelves here. Crockery, footwear, clocks, and watches. Almost anything you care to imagine. Those are forfeited items offered for sale by the pawnbroker. What does that really mean, though? When you pawn, or colloquially pop, an item, the broker loans you money against its worth. He stores the item for an agreed period of time after which the loan must be repaid. If not, he is free to display it in his shop for sale at a price of his choosing. Oh yes, now you've explained it, I'm noticing little price tags on everything. Of course, simply by paying the agreed interest on the loan, one can extend the period of safekeeping. So you may pawn that black garb of yours without fear, my dear fellow. My treasured university uniform, never! It embodies my student spirit. Look at that enormous ledger open on the counter there. Mr. Windibank is, if nothing else, very particular about recording the items he accepts. He'd have to be, otherwise he'd get himself into all sorts of trouble, which might explain the thing that catches my eye far more than the ledger. The revolver here. Do not entertain even a single thought of pilfering. I assure you, Mr. Windibank would not hesitate to draw that weapon with a speed belying his portly size. Oh, you don't mean he'd blow his brains out? Indeed, in recompense for his blunder. Oh my. But in any case, of course we would never do such a thing. How could you even suggest it? Now what do you suppose this rather enormous machine does? It seems to have two little windows for looking through. Allow me to enlighten you, my dear fellows. What you are looking at is a stereoscope. A stereoscope. Fascinating. It is aptly named, I assure you. Look through the eyepieces and see for yourself. Oh, I should be delighted to. Excuse me a moment while I just have a look. Just before you do, there is something I should point out. My dear fellows, in order to see the image properly, stereoscopically, as it were, you need to be cross-eyed. However, if that is beyond you, it is of little consequence today. Alright then, I'm going to try it. Ah! Mr. Naruhodo, you must see. Alright then. So I need to be cross-eyed, but I'm trying to look at my own nose. What the? I don't believe it. It's just a photographic print, but it seems like you could reach out and touch it.
Isn't that the maid? In a regular dress?
The maid?
Remember the maid in the trial?
In the second trial?
In the version, yeah.
Oh yeah, in the...
The one that was in the black and white little uniform that was like scrubbing everything?
I don't know.
It was her.
The sense of death is startling, as not stereoscopes are one of London's many fads. They are often found in little stalls in the park. People queue for hours to see them. Why? Why are people meddling with such black magic? She's so cute. It is no magic, my dear madame. It is, well, far too complicated to explain at present. We shall save this lesson for another day. He just doesn't know the answer. Oh. That's not a calendar you could easily miss, is it? April 15th, today's date. Yes, this stuff for sale on this point. It is an Eastern-style page-a-day calendar. Every night at midnight, I tear off the front page to reveal the following day's date. The perfect calendar for a tearaway fellow such as yourself, Mr. Windibank. And who was it who walked out of here with the wrong violin before? Well, when the agreed storage period has passed without repayment, articles are forfeited, you see. So I have to keep a close eye on the date. It's something of a pawnbroker's obsession, you might say. Oh yes, I can see you're very dedicated to your job. It's Eastern style? I didn't know that. I see those kind of things, but... Look at this. Whatever could it be used for? I have no idea. Ah... There's a small catch just here, look. We're going to open it, aren't we? Oh my, that's amazing. It has some sort of spring-loaded mechanism, which we'll never manage to put back to the way it was before. What are you two doing? What? Us? Nothing. No, nothing at all. Whatever this device is, it seems to have a pair of little windows to look through.
Is it binoculars?
I feel as though I've seen something rather similar to this elsewhere. What? Only 2 pence for it? That ain't fair, and you know it. The article's barely worth a penny, miss. I cannot offer more. It's like there's an argument brewing over by the counter. Come on, that can't be right. Have you even had a proper butcher's at it? I've seen all I need, young girl.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Wait, don't we know? I'm sure I recognize her.
Gina.
Oh yes, it's the young lady from Mr. McGilded's trial 2 months ago. Her name is Gina Lestrade, my lord. She's a chancer. Earns her crust among large crowds, relieving what commonly called a pickpocket. Gordon Bennett, you lot! Hello, Miss Lestrade. I hope you've been well. What? You remember me then, do ya? Well, I remember being completely surrounded by smoke, that's for sure. So, what are you doing in here? Down and out like the rest of us? Nothing to eat? Come to pop that black weasel, sorry, coat, have ya? What is it about this black uniform that makes everyone comment on it? Ah, good day, unless I'm much mistaken. You would be the young pickpocket who stole our experimental smoke grenade launcher. Aye, Mr. Sholmes. So, you have something of value to pawn, do you? Allow me to see the article and I shall negotiate with Mr. Windibank on your behalf. Pull the other one. I don't need no help from some stuck-up D. Get out of my business. Go on or I'll make trouble for you. As you wish, Miss Lestrade. I will happily remove myself from your presence. He's really done it. He's gone. I'm sorry, but as I said, there really is no room for negotiation here. Where's that thing he has in his hand? Some kind of metal disc? And you, go on, leave me alone. Oh, Miss Lestrade, just pretend we aren't here. We shan't be offended in the slightest. Susato-san can really stand her ground when she wants to. Whatever. Somehow, I didn't really think you were the sort of person who'd use a pawnbroker, Miss Lestrade. Yeah, well I am, alright. I'm a Londoner, just like everyone else. That a problem, is it? No, not at all. It's just that, well... Oh, I get it. You're thinking. That thing probably don't even belong to her. Probably got it on the dive, didn't she? Yeah, I can see it written all over your Chevy Chase. Well, I might have been thinking something along those lines. You're not going to deny it, Mr. Naruhodo? Alright then, I'm just going to come out and ask you straight. Do you pawn things that you steal from other people? Well, I don't know how best to answer that, really. Suppose, sometimes. You're not going to deny it either, Miss Lestrade? But not this time, alright, I swear. That thing belongs to me. The disc that Mr. Windibank is holding. Perhaps we should see what he has to say about all this. Mr. Windibank, what exactly is this metal disc that Miss Lestrade has brought in? It seems to have hundreds of tiny little bumps on its surface. Ah, that is a music disc, you see, for use inside a music box. In a music box. What? You don't even know what a music box is? Tisk, you Eastern lot ain't too savvy, eh? I know what a music box is, I've just never seen one of those discs before. The small protrusions on the middle disc encode the tune to be played by the music box. You simply insert the disc and set the machine going and beautiful music plays. It's so incredible. Tell us, what tune is on this disc? Well, I'm afraid I couldn't tell you that. There are so many different types of music box, you see, British-made, German, Swiss. I have no way of knowing what particular machine this disc was made for. Ah, I see. And that's it in a nutshell. I wouldn't have any customers for an item like this, even if the young lady forfeited it. Really, I'm already offering more than I should at a penny. That's a packet of lies. He told me he did. He said it was, well... He? Who? Never you mind, it just ain't right, that's all. That disc's worth good money, I know it is. Well then, you'll have to try your luck at another pawnbroker's, won't you? She's been in before, of course, this little tatterdemalion. Well, I see. I brought some dubious article or other with her every single time, I might add. Dubious? What are you trying to say? I'm an honest customer, me. So, is there something dubious about the disc she brought in today? Well, if only it were that simple. Sorry? What do you mean? What she actually brought in was a storage ticket. Ah, storage ticket, so... Miss Lestrade has actually come to redeem an article for me today, is that right? Yeah, that's right. A girl like me has a lot of stuff what needs storing. Alright, yes, that's definitely dubious. The article in question would have been forfeited at midnight tonight, but as she gave the ticket for it and we paid both the loan and the interest, I was obliged to return the article to her. But what was the article? Do tell us, Mr. Windibank. The little scamp was wearing it, ma'am. It's the overcoat she redeemed. Oh. What? What's wrong with that? It fits, don't it? I mean, it's mine, so of course it does. So what about the disc, then? How does this come into all of this? Ah, the disc is something else. A new article to pawn if the girl and I can agree to a price. I'm confused. I thought you said that Miss Lestrade brought in a storage ticket today. It's really quite simple. Yes, the child brought me a storage ticket and the money owed on it, as you say. For this heavy black coat, which you returned to her care as I've understood it. That's right, yes, and rather unsurprisingly, as soon as that little ragamuffin put the thing on, she went rifling through the pockets. Oh, you mean... What? Don't you know it's rude to stare at a lady? Ah, I see. So it came from the pocket of the overcoat, did it? If you mean this disc, then yes, exactly, ma'am. And she immediately tried to pawn it. For quite a high price as well. This is all rather suspicious, I think. Give it up. I'm just trying to pawn something like anyone else would. Miss Lestrade, may I ask who deposited the overcoat here in the first place? Well, me. It doesn't really appear to be your size. Me, old man. It's me, old man's, ain't it? Is it, Miss Lestrade? Yes, this is definitely all rather suspicious. Out of my way, please. Who's this picture postcard English gentleman? Good day to you, ladies, gentlemen. What's your problem, eh? There is no problem. As long as you remove yourself, I have a matter to discuss with the proprietor. And if you intend to make a problem of it, I shall see you outside, little girl, for the hiding you deserve. Look, ain't it obvious? I ain't done talking with him yet. If you think you're such a gent, you should know how to wait in line. Well, you are an impudent little brat, aren't you? As well as a pickpocket. Eh? Who are you? How'd you know who I am? The question is, how do you not know who I am? You haven't the courtesy even to remember the faces of your victims, it seems. What? You mean from you? Broker. Yes, sir? I believe this filthy pocket thief has just redeemed an article from you, no? Yes. The article in question belongs to me. I demand for it to be returned at once. Oh my. Now that's a lie. What are you trying to pull? Give me back my overcoat, you wastrel. And needless to say, any music box discs, too. No, you can't have it. You just can't. It's me, old man's, or it was. Now it's mine. Oh, it's me, old man's. I'm totally putting the emphasis on the wrong thing. Goodness, Mr. Naruhodo. This is a very awkward situation. Yes. I think perhaps we should hear both sides of the story in a little more detail. Miss Lestrade, is what the gentleman is saying? What do you think? It's all lies, ain't it, obviously? I swear on my life, I ain't never laid eyes on that dandy before. Let's hear it now, you little ragamuffin. You stole it, didn't you? The ticket you brought in here just now. No, I swear it, I swear to God. It was barely an hour ago. I was walking down along the street, minding my own business, when this little gutterling ran into me. I knew at once what had happened. I've been robbed yet again, I thought to myself, those wretched pickpockets. Yet again? Oh yes, you can see I am a man of impeccable style. This isn't the first time that I've been targeted by these back-slum scoundrels. Now then, relinquish my overcoat. Go along now, Miss Lestrade. Give the good gentleman his coat back. If you're going to cause trouble, I shall have no choice but to call the police. Oh, no. Hold on. Why does everyone think it's me? Just look at this dandy coat, and you think I'm the dodgy one? I'm sorry, but no one's going to believe you. Well, what about evidence? Yeah. Where's your evidence that I've stolen something, eh? Come on, let's see it. Oh, I have evidence, naturally. You what? Evidence that the article Miss Lestrade redeemed actually belonged to this gentleman. Of course, we need only consult Mr. Windibank's ledger to know the truth. We'll be able to look up the name of the person who deposited the article in the first place. Yes, brilliant. I'm very sorry, but I'm afraid that won't be possible. Oh. I never ask customers' names. That's a strict policy of mine. But why not? Well now, as you can imagine, some of my customers have circumstances to consider. A great many of them prefer to maintain their anonymity. Yes, I see. Then how can you know if an article belongs to the person asking to redeem it? Oh, it's quite simple. Good sir, might I trouble you for the watchword associated with the article in question? Of course, it's... Professor. Yes, that's right. All the evidence I need, the gentleman is the rightful owner of the article without doubt. A watchword, interesting. So, about these watchwords, Mr. Windibank. As I just explained, I never ask customers' names when they deposit items with me. There are many reasons why certain customers would like to keep their activities secret. That wasn't exactly a subtle glance at Mr. Sholmes now, was it? Great detectives have no dark secrets, none at all. Yes, well, anyway, that's why I always ask for a watchword whenever I accept a new article. In many ways, it's like the secret combination of numbers used to unlock a vault. The deposit, a description, and a watchword uniquely identify each item. And of course, then I give the storage ticket to the customer. When someone comes to redeem something, I ask for the ticket and the watchword. And if that someone tells you the correct watchword, you return the article. That's right, sir, yes, just as soon as the requisite fee is paid.
So she had the watchword.
Yeah.
Ticket.
Yeah, so what's up with that? And I've supplied you with the information you require already, but for the avoidance of doubt, the article in question is an overcoat deposited 2 months ago on February 15th. With a watchword of Professor. All perfectly correct information, sir. But ow! Really, this is beyond a joke now. There is no further room for doubt. Ugh. That's the thing. How did she get it then?
So she knew the word watchword too.
Excuse me, but who are you? One would expect the inquirer to introduce himself first. Though clearly you are not British, so perhaps our ways are foreign to you. Oh, sorry, yes, we're from the Empire of Japan. We're studying here. Oh, yes, Japan. I've heard talk of that. Hold on a sec. I've heard talk of that place. Its inhabitants live on some fiery brown-colored soup, dressed up with exotic spices. You might be thinking of somewhere else, and what was with that theatrical gesticulation about? Perhaps, anyway, if you're a gentleman, sir, you offer your name first before inquiring after the name of another. Of course, yes, I'm Ryonosuke Naruhodo. I'm a lawyer, well, a student of law, really. My name is Susato Mikotoba. I am Mr. Naruhodo's assistant. I see. My name is Benedict. Yes, Egert Benedict. Enchanté. He's so refined in how he holds himself and how he
His
speaks.
name is like Egg Benedict, really.
Yeah, but the name is suspicious.
Eggert Benedict.
Yeah. It's like, maybe he said that because he figures they don't know what it is. Because Naruhodo is even saying it's suspicious. Now to the matter at hand. My overcoat returned at once to someone with the style to carry it off. Every move he makes, every breath he takes, I can't stand watching him. Well, it fits him. So, let that be the end to that matter. And thank you for your custom, Mr. Egert Benedict, sir. With such reasonable rates of interest, I may even decide to come back. Tisk, this is why I hate grown-ups. Just 'cause I'm a diver, everyone thinks that makes me a liar. And the contents of the code pockets, if you please, broker. But of course, sir. Here's the disc for you. Just this one? Pardon, sir? I was expecting another. That is, I deposited another. Another disc. Oh dear. I forgot to inform you, sir, that what was deposited with me was merely the overcoat. The disc happened to be in one of the pockets, but I was completely unaware of it until now. So, Gutterling, you're hiding more of what's rightfully mine, are you? Says who? I don't know nothing about it. Very well. Then I shall bid you farewell. Say goodbye to style. Wait a minute, that disc is mine. Arr, what do you think you're doing, you little tramp? You've drawn blood, you filthy animal. Oh my, yes, there's blood on the disc. It's because of all those sharp little bumps. The man must have scratched his finger on them. I found it first, alright? I mean, it belonged to me, old man. So you're not having it. Oi, you take it. Me? If I ain't gone to it, they'll have it off me again, so you keep hold of it. Miss Lestrade, why is this disc so important to her? The music box disc has been entered to the court record. You there, in the black livery. Hand the disc to me at once, please. No, don't. He's lying. Grown-ups are all liars. What do I do now? How am I going to resolve this?
You have to converse with him again?
I don't know. Let me do him first. Mr. Winnerbeg is clearly at a loss here. We have to do something about this before he reaches for that revolver of his. Wow, Miss Lestrade is really looking daggers at the mysterious gentleman. We need to do something to calm things down before she loses control and attacks him again. Look at those piercing eyes. He's clearly in no mood to talk. We have to do something quickly before this mysterious gentleman leaves to fetch the police or something. Well, let's ask him for some help. Mr. Sholmes, what are you examining with such keen interest there? As you enjoy a bar of caramel, I see. So, you found me at last, Mr. Naruhodo. Sorry? After that young pickpocket sent me on my way, I was forced to lurk in the shadows, cruelly ostracized as the rest of you partook in the jovial atmosphere of fellowship. I had nothing to occupy my mind, but was too ashamed to let society see what my downfall had done to me. So, feigning mock interest, I pretended to examine the tedious trinkets in this desolate place, whilst, as you shrewdly observed, gnawing on the only friend I have left, this 7% solution of caramel. Pray, do you claim to understand the depths of my despair, Mr. Naruhodo? But how could you? I was so lonely, so desperately lonely. Then why on earth didn't you rejoin the conversation? Things have gone from bad to worse here, you know. Yes, I overheard much of your conversation, or rather, in my craving for human contact, my ears devoured every word that was uttered. You really were sad, weren't you? Poor Mr. Sholmes, I feel simply awful for you. It would seem that my inferences are correct. Oh, surely you're not about to tell us that you've solved the entire case once again? My dear madame, sometimes I wonder, were my genius for deduction to be commoditized, how much could I pawn it for? It seems Mr. Sholmes has had another ado here. The deduction. Well, Miss Lestrade, it would appear you find yourself in something of a... Yes. Where the blue blazes have you been, eh? Be there to help. Straight away. Not an hour later. Harsh. Mr. Eggert Benedict, you have, in my eyes, a veritably encyclopedic array of curiosities about your person. Nevertheless, there are two immovable conclusions I have drawn. I beg your pardon? The first is this. The true reason for your visit to this pawnbrokery today is something you have not yet revealed. And the second is this. A considerable crime is in contemplation, one you will orchestrate with intent to steal a vast sum of money. Well, Mr. Benedict, what say you to my deductions? How? He's turned as white as a hard-boiled egg. It would seem that once again, Mr. Sholmes has made a flawless deduction. Who do you think you are, sir? Yes, as I hoped. This is precisely the pain expression I was looking for. So, shall we begin? The time has come for yet another of Sherlock Sholmes' logic and reasoning spectacular. First of all, we must ask ourselves something that I have to reread. First of all, we must ask ourselves on what business you ventured to this pawnbrokery today. You claim to have followed this pickpocket here, having had the redemption ticket stolen from you on the street. But that is most certainly a lie. The real truth is something quite different. As revealed by that which you hold in your hand, yes, what brought you to this shop in the first place is the staff recruitment flyer. The piece of paper in your hand is a staff wanted advertisement from this very shop. Yet even the most unobservant would soon realize that a man of your appearance has no need of such employ. In other words, there's some ulterior motive for your actions. The cane, which you unwittingly clutched into your person, exhibits an incontrovertible contradiction. What utter rot! I've had this cane for years.
The initials?
The contradiction of which I speak is, of course, the missing... Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's the initials. The end of any walking cane would be terminated with a metal ferrule to protect the wooden tip. And yet, detailed analysis shows the wooden tip of this stick to be utterly bare. Therefore, there is only one conclusion. The rod that you hold in your hand, which appears to be a walking cane, is in fact no cane at all. You recoil, sir. Is something wrong? And in your recoiling, you inadvertently facilitate the answer of the next conundrum to present itself. Namely, what is the truth behind this rod you bear? Yes, your reaction betrays the truth. The handle, which you evidently would like to conceal, is the key to understanding this riddle, you see. From the moment I saw it, my suspicions were aroused. What walking cane demands such a stout handle, mused I. But of course, as I said, this is no walking cane. No, that rod is the broken handle of a shovel. What? Are you insane? And now, having determined this undeniable truth, the conclusion is clear. Your true motive for coming here was to take employment at this establishment in order to excavate the ground beneath the premises. What a calculated crime you have conceived, sir. A wickedly calculated crime.
I like talking to you.
You know, it's funny because his
observations are good, but the reasoning is bad.
Yeah, the conclusion he draws from it is always bad, but he's not, I don't know, pointing fingers for no reason. Now, Mr. Benedict, let us continue, for we must expose the details of this elaborate crime you have in the planning. That is utterly absurd. You suggest that I, a gentleman, intend to excavate the ground beneath this pawnbrokery with a broken shovel? What on earth do you propose I could expect to find there? Some long-forgotten treasure, I suppose? Save for such a fanciful theory, what possible reason could I have to do as you say? Oh, but there is ample reason. As you are all too aware, Mr. Benedict. And your furtive glance is more telling than I could have hoped. What? Let us consider what would motivate a man to infiltrate a shop such as this and covertly dig beneath its floor. The answer is revealed by the council notice on the counter to which your eyes were inadvertently drawn. This letter gives notice of public works to be carried out in the local area. And according to this enclosed plan of the upcoming sewerage works, Beneath this shop runs a sewer that adjoins another, one that runs under the bank on the opposite side of the road. This madness has entered the sewers now, has it? By excavating the ground beneath our feet, you would gain access to the waterway. That flows in very close proximity to the great vault of the financial institution opposite. What are you... In summary, sir, you devised a master plan to pull off an elaborate bank robbery by dint of the underground tunnels. Master plan? Which brings us at last to the final chapter of this lurid scheme. With what plunder did the thief hope to make off from the underground vault of the bank? Are you quite serious? Having consulted with Scotland Yard some days ago, I happen to know the answer. But naturally, the answer is no secret to you, is it, Mr. Benedict? I have no idea what you're talking about. Allow me to present a rather interesting piece of evidence. You see, this picture postcard tells us all we need to know. A postcard of the Great Exhibition. I'm afraid you've quite lost me. Currently in the final stages of preparation, the Great Exhibition will soon be underway, and the government has provided extra funds to complete its centerpiece, the Crystal Tower. Funds that currently sit in the vault of the bank on the other side of this road. Pardon? Yes, the considerable crime you have been contemplating is the theft of that which sits in the vault of that bank, the Special Reserves Fund for the Great Exhibition. Of course, that is top-secret police information, so keep it under your hat, please. Thus concludes Erlach Sholm's great deduction of this pawnbroking puzzle. Mr. Sholmes? Well, Mr. Naruhodo? An impressively upbeat deduction for a detective racked with loneliness, would you not agree? Was it true what you said about the bank over the road and what it has in its vault? Indeed, though few know of its existence, it is one of the government's most closely guarded secrets. Gregson told me in the strictest confidence. But you just announced it to everyone here rather loudly, in fact. Ah, and if it's such a big secret, how would Mr. Benedict have come to find out about it? There can be but one explanation for that. Clearly, it is because the man is a criminal. What if he didn't know anything about the money in the vault? If he is a criminal, as you said, then buying a brand new shovel is sure to be the first thing he does now that you revealed the secret. Oh. Or if he doesn't, maybe Mr. Windibank will. He already has plenty of shovels here after all. On my life, I assure you that I am not so unscrupulous. Well, hopefully this has taught you a valuable lesson. Sensitive information must be handled with the utmost of care. One can never be sure that someone privy to secrets won't disclose them, and once the word is out, it's out. Perhaps I'll think twice before confiding in you next time, Mr. Sholmes. An excellent idea, Mr. Naruhodo, an excellent idea. Ah, ha, ha. Well then, Mr. Naruhodo, you know what to do, I'm sure. Yes, let's listen to that great deduction again, see if we can massage it into shape. Very well then, let us start once more from the beginning. Of Erlach Sholmes' magnificent logic and reasoning, spectacular. Course correction. Hold it! First of all, we best ask ourselves what business. He claimed to have followed the pickpocket here, but that's a lie. As revealed by what you hold in your hand, the Stafford coupon flyer. So, by Mr. Sholmes' reasoning, Mr. Benedict came here in order to apply for a job so he could dig down through the floor. Yes, an attempt to tunnel into the sewers to gain access to the money in the vault of the bank across the road. But he wouldn't get very far with a broken shovel, would he? No, I think it's fair to say his motives lie elsewhere. The question is where? What did bring Mr. Benedict here at this particular point in time? Maybe there's something on the back? Yes. Oh, look at the scribbled notes on the back of the flyer here. I don't believe it. What is it? Listen to what it says. Name, Gina Lestrade. Height, 5'2". Green cap, scruffy waistcoat, grubby white shirt, blue satchel, ragged. It's a detailed description of Miss Lestrade. goodness, there's even a sketch of her, hat and all. Although if he showed it to her, she'd fire that smoke grenade launcher in his face for sure. And look, the details of the shop have been written down there too. Windibanks Pawnbrokery, Baker Street, redemption deadline, April 15th. Which is today's date. Why would Mr. Bennet have all the information scrawled on the back of that piece of paper? Well, I wasn't expecting that. Yes, what brought you to this shop in the first place is the info about Miss Lestrade. Quite so, my dear fellow. It would appear that the writing and sketch on the reverse of the flyer pertain to the pickpocket Miss Lestrade and to Mr. Windibank's pawnbrokery here. Ah. You originally told us that you had merely given chase that Miss Lestrade stole the redemption ticket from you. But that, sir, is a thinly veiled lie. It is the information on the back of the flyer that led you here today, by which I mean here to Windibank's pawnbrokery, and today the redemption deadline of that overcoat. So you waited outside for the young girl, matching the description you have written down to arrive. And you have gone to some lengths to hide the reason for your pursuit of Miss Lestrade. In other words, there is some ulterior motive for your actions. The cane, which you unwittingly clutch in your person, exhibits an incontrovertible contradiction. Utter rot. The contradiction is, of course... No, that's not the contradiction. What's a furl? It's the metal cap which commonly comes at the end of the cane, Mr. Naruhodo. Ah, the bit that makes the nice clacking sound on the pavement? Yes, exactly, and Mr. Sholmes is right. It appears to be missing on this cane. But it doesn't actually look broken, does it? No, it doesn't, though the gentleman certainly did recoil when Mr. Sholmes identified the cane as suspicious. In other words, there's some secret about the cane that Mr. Benedict would rather we don't know. Look here, Monsieur Statu. There are some letters on the handle. Ah yes, those must be initials, I think. In the West, it's customary for people to engrave their belongings with the first letters of their name. Sir Herlock Sholmes would be H.S., you mean? That's right. And the initials on this cane, obviously. O. A.G. Why does it feel as though that's not quite right?
Take that!
Contradiction of which I speak is, of course, the initialing. A most astute observation, wouldn't you say, Mr. Egbert Benedict? We are led to believe, sir, that your initials are E.B., yet in the most possessive manner you have in your grasp a cane bearing the initials A.G. An incontrovertible contradiction indeed, would you not agree? No, you're wrong. This cane isn't... You said before that you had that cane for years. So don't try to tell us that you borrowed it from a friend or found it in the park. In short, though you hold yourself to be a gentleman, you have withheld your true name. You recoil, sir. Something wrong? And you recoil, you universally facilitate. Namely, what's the truth? Yes, your reaction betrays the truth. The handle is the key. Let's consider the bare bones of what's happened here. Miss Lestrade redeemed that fine-looking overcoat, and now a mysterious man has appeared, introducing himself with a fake name, and claiming that the overcoat belongs to him. But we know that he actually identified Miss Lestrade from our written description, which suggests that everything else he's told us is untrue. So what we need to do here is somehow prove that the overcoat cannot possibly belong to him. Yeah, I don't think he'd have a split seam. Oh, the seam on the shoulder there is coming apart. So it is. Do you know, a moment ago when Mr. Benedict was surprised by something that was said, I thought I heard him make a rather strange noise. It sounds a bit like a tiny growl. But now I think it probably was the sound of the seam ripping open. If you look closely, it does seem to be a very tight fit. The sleeves are stretching to bursting, and he wouldn't have a hope of fastening it at the front. If he were to run around in it, I'm sure the whole thing would fall apart. Yeah, that I'd like to see. Sorry? So how can we make Mr. Benedict run around? She's really giving this some thought. So it doesn't fit him, even though it kind of looked like it.
I'm wondering if it's McGilda's jacket.
Whoa.
And, like, he didn't come, like, why would he give to him? Anyway.
Yeah, because we gotta find out why he has, and I guess we might be about to find out, why he has information on this place and what she put in. Because, yeah, the only way she could get it back is by knowing the professor word. So,
yeah, and she couldn't have stole the...
The split seam, which you evidently would like to conceal, is the key to understanding this riddle, you see. Ah, yes, because... I gotta read that again. Yes, because the overcoat is rather obviously a poor fit. Having forced it over your broad shoulders, the seam is already breaking apart. My suspicions were aroused from the outset. When you so baldly lied about your name and so boldly waylaid this pickpocket, this catalog of untruths has all been for one very specific purpose. To steal the article that the young girl redeemed from Mr. Windibank. But what really irks me is this. The considerable crime I initially imagined has been considerably curtailed. Now, Mr. Benedict, let us continue. For we must expose the details of this elaborate crime you have in the planning. This is utterly absurd. These are just that I and gentlemen designed a weave to filch some tawdry article of pawnage. Have you forgotten that I redeemed the article in the proper manner using the watchword? Had I not been the one to deposit it in the first place, how could I possibly have known the relevant details? Ne sais pas. Oh, but the watchword can be discovered. As you are only too well aware, Mr. Benedict. Ah, and your furtive glance is more telling than I could have hoped. What? Let us consider how one might come to learn a secret watchword relating to the pawned property of another. The method is revealed by the council notice on the counter. No, it would be by the ledger. The direction of the deduction must change rather dramatically now, I think. Yes, no more talk of tunneling into the sewers, which is a pity, because it all sounded rather exciting. Anyway, you can't deny that this mysterious gentleman did know the watchword. Yes, Professor. If you didn't know the watchword, Mr. Windibank would never allow you to redeem the article. Or, looking at it another way, if you did know that word, Mr. Windibank would allow you to redeem the article whether it was yours or not. So the question is, could the gentleman have found the watchword out somehow? Well, I can't actually... Notelet. Look at this, Mr. Sato. Ah, it appears to be a memo that Mr. Windibank has scribbled to himself. Let's see, what does it say? Oh, Professor. Mr. Windibank must make a note of the watchwords his customers give him right before their eyes, and an alarmingly clear script as well. Oh dear, I don't know where to look. Who knows what other secrets I might see. The method is revealed by the notelet on the counter to which your eyes were inadvertently drawn. Yes, the broker here follows the same procedure whenever a customer comes to redeem an article. He asks the customer for the watchword, notes down the response uttered on a notelet he has to hand, in hand, then he consults his ledger and confirms whether or not the watchword matches that of the article in question. I would expect nothing less of a diligent pawnbroker. But his diligence clearly has its disadvantages. What are you talking about? It is increasingly apparent that you were present in this shop before your accusation against Miss Lestrade. In all likelihood, you followed her inside and then observed her talking to Mr. Windibank. When the diligent broker made a note of the watchword, as is his common practice, you observed him writing the word Professor on the notelet beside the ledger. And that, sir, was the master plan you devised to steal the pawn article from the young Miss Lestrade. Master plan? Which brings us at last to the final chapter of this lurid scheme. Why would you go to such great lengths to redeem that particular article from this pawnbroker? Are you quite serious? For an ill-fitting overcoat hardly seems to justify the effort, much less a worthless music box disc. But naturally, you had a very good reason to make them yours, didn't you, Mr. Benedict? I have no idea what you're talking about. Allow me to present a rather interesting piece of evidence. You see, this picture postcard tells us all we need to know. The articles we're talking about are the overcoat and the music box disc that was in one of the pockets, which according to Mr. Windibank isn't even worth a penny, and yet this man went to such lengths to steal them. Why? I wonder if perhaps we already have the evidence we need to explain to Mr. Naruhodo. Could we really? I'd better have a look through all the evidence we've collected so far. Mr. McGilded. Look at you, hon. You always know this stuff. Oh, there's a little scrap of paper stuck onto the reverse side of the disc, look. And a scribbled word or two. It looks like somebody's name. For McGilded. McGilded? It couldn't be. But it is Mr. Naruhodo. A name I shall never forget for as long as I live. But why? Why is his name on this?
Take that!
You see, this music box disc tells us all we need to know. What's that on the back? It reads from McGilded. Mr. Magnus McGilded, the unfortunate philanthropist who perished in curious circumstances at the Old Bailey 2 months ago. A prominent man in London, though his loan-mongering demonstrated a distinct lack of scruples. So, you're an associate of his, are you? Or perhaps a subordinate? Mr. McGilded was a man of unusually small stature. In fact, he was precisely the right size for that overcoat that you squeezed yourself into. Your true identity remains shrouded in mystery, Mr. Eggert Benedict, but the final conclusion here is crystal clear. The reason you came to the pawnbrokery today was to retrieve an article left behind by the late Magnus McGilded. Not that it's a shock, but it looks like this case will be getting some answers about McGilded. Well, well, Mr. Magnus McGilded. Not a name I expected to hear in these circumstances. Mr. Sholmes, I'm afraid there's something very troubling on my mind. Pray tell, Mr. Sato. Well, according to what Mr. Windibank told us earlier, today was the final day on which the overcoat could have been redeemed, was it not? Yes, ma'am, that is correct. Today would be precisely 2 months since it was first deposited. Well, today is April 15th, so 2 months ago today would have been 15th February, sir. That's right. It's all carefully recorded in my ledger. Deposited at 10:30 p.m., I see. What? But that suggests... Yes, February 15th is precisely the day on which the omnibus murder took place. And 10:30 in the evening is precisely the time at which the terrible events were unfolding. Suggestive is not the word. It would seem the matter is entirely beyond coincidence. You are, of course, at liberty to make whatever outlandish deductions you choose, however. I must insist you hand over the music box disc now. Hey, he has a revolver, too. It would be a terrible shame for you to return to your native land in a box. Ah, what do I do? No. There are some things a man must protect at all costs. This may well be one of those things. Then again, it may not. Yeah, Mr. Windibank, this is my shop. I can't allow any harm to come to my customers. If that were to happen, I should have to take my own life. Mr. Wintermate, no! Alright, that's enough. There we go. Inspector Gregson. Inspector? That's right, Sunshine. That alarm was raised on one of our dedicated emergency lines. So we got here as fast as we could. Now what's this all about? Oh, praise be, you're here at last. I was moments away from forfeiting my own life in my very own establishment. Would seem you have the upper hand. Right, you lot have got some explaining to do. I don't appreciate being bothered with some petty argy-bargy. Petty? Mr. Winterbank very merely met with his end. Yeah, by his own gun, as far as I can tell. Oh dear. And the whole of Britain could meet with its end if I don't get to the bottom of this case I'm supposed to be working on. What on earth is the case, Inspector? Spare no detail, Gregson. I might have said a little too much. No matter, it's nothing to do with you lot. Anyway, sir, you're gonna have to come with me down to the station. But of course, Inspector. He's getting away. Get after him, lads. Whistle the beat officer, too. Sir. There's been a spate of thefts at pawn shops around here recently, so we fitted the emergency buttons underneath the counters for brokers to let us know when there's trouble. Oh, Inspector, I was very worried there for a while, very worried indeed. Now then, Mr. Permanently in mourning. Oh, yes? I'll be taking that whatever it is of Miss McGilded's down to the yard, thank you very much. So hand it over. Oh, yes, of course. No, don't give it to him, it's mine, that is mine. I'm sorry, miss, but anything belonging to McGilded has to be taken in as evidence now. As evidence? If the police demand something as evidence, my dear fellow, we have no choice but to capitulate. It's all yours, Inspector. And so we handed Mr. McGilded's disc over to Inspector Gregson, and were similarly turfed out of the shop and onto the street.
I think we're at a good stopping point.
We're at a good stopping point, but this got very interesting.
Guns, yeah.
Guns, yeah, but that guy went from... Because I could have easily believed him that she pickpocketed him. But then he's got some secrets. McGilded trying to figure out, I mean, Gina Lestrade, I don't know why that thing was put into the pawn shop the night of the murder.
Maybe for safekeeping, kind of like the manuscript. Like Sherlock Holmes puts his manuscript in there because nobody's gonna get it.
Yeah, but what I'm wondering is that, like, she apparently put that there.
Maybe, yes.
Because we're getting the impression that, okay, if it wasn't that guy, then it was at least her, but she was apparently at the scene of the crime with McGilded. So I'm very, very curious about this.
No, she would have already been gone because he got locked in the carriage and set on fire.
No. I thought it was the night of the murder.
He was murdered.
No. I thought it was. We don't know if he was murdered.
He was burned in the carriage.
No, but it's not officially a murder. What I'm saying is, when they say the murder, I'm pretty sure they mean the murder that McGilded was accused of.
You think?
Yeah. We don't know it's a murder yet. We just know the thing's on fire.
He's dead, though.
Doesn't mean it's a murder.
Okay.
Like, by all means, he was probably murdered, but to the characters, it's not officially a murder.
It's a suspicious death.
Yeah. So what we're seeing is that the night of that murder...
In the stagecoach.
Yeah. Somebody, maybe her, deposited that overcoat at 10:30 p.m., which is a strange time to submit that.
Right, but that means that she wouldn't have been a witness of the actual murder
Yeah.
underneath the seat, but we know that he was lying anyway and actually probably killed that guy.
Or covered something up. Jeez. See, I dig this. I kept wondering when is this all gonna.
We still haven't seen Giselle Brett either.
Mm. Or that weird looking guy in the last case that showed up for 1 second.
That looks like the Jester or whatever.
Yeah. But I wonder. I did read a review that um, a lot of things get tied up in things you think are completely irrelevant. And so I've been thinking, like, okay, just be patient, man. Eventually
They come together.
it'll come together. I guess we'll see how. Okay, well, I dig that. Looking forward to continuing this.